Alright, puzzle fans. Professor Layton in the New World of Steam, right? So, Tokyo Game Show happened. It's still happening at this point in time. We got a new trailer last night ahead of the presentation, and then the live presentation was like nothing, basically. They showed nothing. But we got the demo. There is footage of the new demo. And I thought, I could maybe not really react to this, but watch it back and voice my thoughts about it, because I do have some thoughts about this game. There are two videos that I'm gonna watch. This one is from the Famicast. In this one, they really take their time with the game and look at everything. And then in the other one, they kind of mash through all of the text, which is really based because there's a 15-minute timer to the demo. So if you want to see everything, you kind of have to go fast. So this video doesn't even get to the ending of the demo. But it's cool, so we're gonna look at this first. I guess, the elephant in the room that really bugs me is the title, Professor Layton and the New World of Steam Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. This isn't really Level 5's fault, this is Nintendo's fault, because they came up with this Nintendo Switch 2 Edition subtitle for every game. When this game was first announced in 2023, which was almost 3 years ago at this point, my first reaction was I cannot believe this. Is this real? Am I dreaming? And then my second thought was, Professor Layton and the New World of Steam is a stupid title. It's too long. It's there's one word too many in it. If it were Professor Layton and the World of Steam, that'd be okay. It would sound like a kind of game that you might see in the original set of games, the original two trilogies. But I think this is a bit too long. It's too wordy. And then if you add the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition subtitle, it's way too long. Imagine when the game comes out, I go to the store and I'm like, yo, where can I find Professor Layton und die neue Welt des Dampfes Nintendo Switch 2 Edition? What kind of name is that? Especially in German, it's so long. Because the thing is, when I speak about the Layton games in my native language, I usually use the German names. So I say Verlorene Zukunft or Ruf des Phantoms or Maske der Wunder. But I think Neue Welt des Dampfes, that sounds stupid. I'm just gonna call it New World of Steam. The main reason I hate the Switch 2 Edition subtitle is because I'm really hoping there's gonna be a physical release. I don't think they have confirmed this yet. Every other Layton game got released physically, but all of them, except for Layton's Mystery Journey, were published by Nintendo and not by Level 5. I don't know if Level 5 are able to release this game physically. I really hope so. I'm gonna be so mad if this game is digital only, but assuming there's a physical version, it's gonna look so bad in the shelf because the text is so long and it's gonna be so small on the spine of the box, but it is what it is. Practically, it makes sense because you're releasing the game on two consoles at the same time, and the game is different depending on the console, and you don't want your grandma to buy the wrong version of the game for you, so you have to make it clear that they are different. But they could also just do what Sega does, which is you release the same game on the Switch 2 and you don't change anything about it. That's what they did with Sonic and Shadow Generations and Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and it's just whatever. And then you have games like Sonic Colors, where the DS game is a completely different game. It has nothing to do with the Wii game, but the box art is the same and the name is the same and no one cares about it. So I don't really like this whole Nintendo Switch 2 Edition thing, but anyway, I think we should probably actually look at the trailer, the demo. I guess what you can't really see in this demo, or in this video, is that they actually let you choose between... I'm gonna pause. They let you choose between Japanese and English. And there's also a setting for voices. I haven't seen a video yet where they set the voice to English. I brought this up on the Dearest Herschel Discord, and someone suggested that maybe the English voices haven't been done yet. But in that case, I'd be very surprised that they offer you to change it to English in the demo, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, maybe someone will post a video with the English voices at some point, because we know nothing about it. And I just want confirmation that Christopher Robin Miller is in fact voicing Layton again. I don't necessarily need Maria Darling as Luke again, because Luke has significantly aged. I don't know if Maria Darling's voice would still fit. I'm definitely hoping they're not going to bring back Lani Minella, but I guess Lani Minella's voice would be a little bit more fitting now that Luke lives in America and his accent has probably changed a little bit, but I don't know. Just bring back Maria Darling or recast Luke, I don't know. I just want to make sure that there is an English dub in the first place. So we're starting with the letter that Layton gets at the end of Lost Future. And this is what we've seen in the first trailer, or the first real trailer from 2023. I think it's fitting that the game starts like this. Like, if you haven't played Lost Future, you're not really going to understand the context of this, but you don't really need to. This shot, I think, looks absolutely terrible because you should be able to see into every single window. From a storytelling perspective, it makes sense that only Layton is highlighted, but this looks so uncanny almost. Like, it looked exactly like this when this was first shown 2 years ago, and I thought, okay, they're probably gonna fix it. It still looks the same. I don't really like this. I feel like they're kind of like taking some shortcuts here, but in general, the game looks a lot better now than it did 2 years ago, so I'm optimistic. I feel like at this point, like in the full game, it's probably going to show the logo because that's what they do in the other Layton game, at least in Miracle Mask and Azran. No, definitely in those two. I'm not, maybe in, no, they also do it in Pandora's Box. They do it in all games, don't they? I'm not sure about Curious Village. Yeah, they definitely do it in Pandora's Box and Lost Future as well. I'm not sure about Curious Village. Anyway, I think this is kind of strange how like it starts off with the chapter 1 screen like right after the cutscene, but I guess that's what all the other games do as well. There's no prologue in this one. Normally there's always a prologue, but doesn't really matter. This is what we saw in the trailer that dropped today. One thing that's like so strange about this is that it feels very like anachronistic because like the Layton games are very ambiguous about like the exact point in time in which they are set. Generally, it is said that the Layton games are set in the 60s, like roughly the 60s, but it's like a fictional version of the 60s where they have a bunch of technology that we still don't have, and then also there's a bunch of technology that is quite common that does not exist in Layton games, so it's kind of weird. But they're basically saying that the Wild West era is just ending in America, and it's the dawn of the steam engine, which would set this game like in the 19th century, the end of the 19th century. And it feels a little bit strange because steam engines and steam technology very much exists in the Layton series. So for example, in Inspector's Call, you have the abandoned factory where they used to make steam cars like many years ago, but they got shut down. So it's kind of strange to see that in this game that takes place years after that, the steam engine is seen as this like new big thing. It's kind of strange. I guess that's just this version of the world, the universe that the Layton series takes place in, where America is significantly lagging behind Britain, I suppose. Because apparently this is the 1960s or early 70s maybe, if you were to follow the timeline of the Layton game. So that's kind of strange, but I don't really mind it. I think the steampunk setting definitely fits Layton. I do find these machines very strange, because like generally the steampunk aesthetic is very reminiscent of Lost Future, especially of the concept art for Lost Future. So in general, I enjoy that they decided to go down this pipeline, but I'm not really used to it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. It definitely looks like a much more Layton-esque location than what we've seen in Azran Legacy and LMJ. So I'm sure Steam Bison is going to be fun to explore, and I'm sure it's going to feel very much at home. Like if you're used to Layton, it's going to be great. Yeah, so like we definitely have computers, which don't really exist in Layton games. I guess they are mentioned in some puzzles, but you never see someone use a computer. So yeah, I guess another thing this confirms is that there's not going to be any traditionally animated cutscenes in the game, which is what I expected. The 3DS games obviously had the traditionally animated ones, even LMJ did, but like honestly with the art style of this game, I feel like the traditionally animated cutscenes wouldn't even fit. And I guess they would also be too expensive to make. Also, Layton, like, don't stand in the way, man. Like, when you're exiting a plane or a train, just keep moving, man. Just don't stand in the way. Also, like, I love the suspension monorail. Shoutouts to Wuppertal, definitely. It looks like first of all, they reworked the mysteries menu. It looks like there's only 8 this time around, which is interesting because all of the other Layton games have 10, except for Azran Legacy, which has 12. So it's interesting that they reduced the amount of mysteries because this is supposed to be like a bigger game. But I guess then on the other hand, a lot of the mysteries in the older games are kind of nothing or like not really relevant to the actual plot, such as like, where is Tom in Pandora's Box? And some of them are kind of like redundant, I would say. Like, for example, Inspector's Call, at some point near the end of the game, you get this mystery that's like, well, the Spectre is not actually a Spectre, but then what is it? Which is kind of like already the thing you're wondering, like from the very beginning of the game. And there's like another mystery that's kind of similar. So I don't know why that's in the game. I guess that's just to pad it out to 10. So I guess if you only need 8, then sure. Yeah, it looks kind of cool, definitely. It's definitely very gamey, considering that it looks like a notebook and all of the other mysteries are already teased, making it look like you already know what they're going to be, which wouldn't really make sense that this is Layton's notebook, but it's a video game, no one cares. But yeah, definitely, like, one thing that I don't really enjoy is that we still don't know what the plot is. Like, obviously, like with the Layton game, you never really know what the plot is until the very end, because like the ending recontextualizes everything that's happened. But usually with these games, they always kind of tease what the mystery is. Like, obviously they're leading you astray, but they're always telling you, oh, this is generally what's happening. There's a time machine, you're going to the future, you're gonna have to fight yourself, or there's this mask that's like causing all of these miracles to happen, or whatever. Maybe you want to look into that. And then also it's about Layton's past or something. Like, usually we know a lot more about what's going on. Also, we're seeing the mouse controls in this. I'm thinking about actually using the mouse controls for this game, because like, honestly, like, my biggest concern with this game is that it's not on the DS or the 3DS, which, like, obviously makes sense because they've been discontinued for so long, but, like, the problem is the DS is just so perfect for Layton, and it's so comfortable, but I feel like the Switch, and especially the Switch 2, are not great as handhelds because they are too big and they are not very comfy to hold. And then also you would need to get like a stylus for the Switch. And then also, considering you can use the Switch at the TV, I feel like there's no reason to ever play it in handheld, because why would I play it in handheld mode when I can play it on the TV? And like, I don't really know how you would control this game without the mouse controls. Like, it's definitely going to be a pain on the original Switch. I know that in LMJ they used motion controls and it didn't really work all that well. So I'm hoping they definitely reworked the control scheme even when you're not using the mouse controls, or when the mouse controls are not available on the original Switch. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. I'm probably going to play around with the control schemes. I'm not really sure how I would use the mouse controls, because I'd have to get like some kind of mouse pad or something. Like, you know, I was thinking I would just sit on my couch, and I guess that's not really possible if I'm using mouse controls. So I feel like this game is not going to be as comfy to play, because like usually with Layton, I just sit down in my bed and I get comfy with a blanket and I just play on 3DS. And it's so nice. Like, you can hold it in your left hand, hold the stylus in the right hand, and it's just perfect. And I feel like that's not going to be possible with the Switch or the Switch 2. I guess another like quality of life change is that they're actually showing you which character has something important to say, which is pretty cool, because they have these like speech bubbles above their heads. So regarding the character designs, they look very different compared to the other games. They look a lot more like refined, and they almost look more like real people. Like, I figure their heads are smaller than they were in the older games, but maybe that's not even true, I don't know. They definitely look like, at least some of them look more human, although not really. I guess the thing with Layton characters was always that every single character looks like they are from a completely different game, and there's absolutely no consistency. And I guess in this game, like, overall, it looks like the characters are all from the same game. And like the greater picture seems to be a lot more consistent. I mean, I guess this kind of contradicts what I was just saying. Also, the girl in the middle looks like the girl from Azran Legacy, the one with Old Red. I don't remember her name being Chloe, but maybe that's like a localization thing. Maybe it's a completely different character. But she looks like the girl from the Old Red episode in Azran Legacy. I think some of the characters in this game look kind of uncanny. I think in general they look like more round, whereas the old characters were more like rough around the edges. But yeah, they are more detailed, which I enjoy. They definitely look more refined than the old characters. I think the old character designs are great, and they definitely fit into that like vintage aesthetic that the old games have. I think the designs in LMJ were kind of too perfect, or like they were too clean. That's kind of an issue that I had with those designs. Like, there was nothing unique about the characters. They just kind of looked like your average character, like nondescript NPC that you would fit in a game. So we're getting a look at some of the puzzles here. This puzzle is very reminiscent of your typical Layton puzzle. Basically, you get a description of a person and you have to find them in a crowd, and then like some of the important character traits aren't visible, which is something they did with the Find Mr. Anderson puzzle in Pandora's Box. There's also a puzzle in Spectre's Call that this reminds me of, where you have to identify Maggie's friend, and she has like a birthmark under her eye, but you can't see it because you can only see the other half of her eye, but like by process of elimination you have to figure out that's her. I guess like the main thing that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb is the placement of the text, and this is something that I've been concerned about ever, or not not really concerned about, but this is something I've noticed ever since they first showed gameplay. Because like a big difference between this game and the old games is that in the 3DS games, the text would always be in a little pop-up window that you could open and close whenever you want, and it would fit the entire, like fill out the entire screen. But that doesn't exist in this game. In this game, the text is always like somewhere on the left side of the screen, which means that first of all, they have to like blur out part of the drawing, which looks kind of strange, especially in this puzzle, because you have this character that's obviously like somewhat important, at least to the narrative. So it looks a little strange that they had to blur him out a little bit. I'm a big fan of the artworks. Like, I'm very happy that we still have some traditional hand-drawn artworks in this game, even though they can only be found in the puzzles, it looks like. But I think like the main thing that I don't like about the placement of the text is that due to the nature of this, the text has to be kind of short. Because, you know, in the old games, the puzzles, like the texts would be really long, and they would include like some kind of story and like a lot of details that you don't really need, which added a lot of charm to it. And I guess another thing with the shorter texts is that in the Layton games, they often give you puzzles that have like a lot of information that you don't need for a purpose, where it's like there's a bunch of bullshit that you don't need and you have to like filter out the actually important information, and that's the entire puzzle. So I don't really know if that's going to be possible here either. So the text is definitely going to be like a lot more straightforward, which might be a good thing. I don't know. Like at the end of the day, I don't really care as long as it's like, as long as the instructions are clear, because that was always the issue with Layton's Mystery Journey, that the puzzles were so badly written that you don't really have an idea what you actually have to do. So far, from what I've seen, the translation seems to be accurate, but also all of the puzzles we've seen so far were very basic in nature. So I don't know how that's going to work with the more complicated puzzles, if they even exist in this game. Like, I can't really gauge how hard this game is going to be yet. So, we have a world map, which is something that you have in every Layton game, basically. Like, you have the map on the top screen, and in the 3DS games it's on the bottom screen. A mechanic that's gonna come back from the crossover and LMJ is that you can go to any location at any time by selecting it from the world map, which, like, I guess that's good for, like, the sake of convenience, and it's gonna save you a lot of time because there's not gonna be that much backtracking. But I feel like in the old games, or like the existing games, except for the crossover and, you know, the game we don't talk about, I think the backtracking was always like an important part of the experience. Especially because like the game would always force you along like a specific route, and then you would maybe move a screen or two, and then a character would show up out of the blue, and then there would be a change of plans because they would tell you something that's gonna make you want to do something else entirely, or it's gonna give you some new information that's gonna change your plans. So that's something like a device of like a storytelling device that's not gonna be possible in this game, which is kind of sad. And I also feel like it kind of breaks the immersion of like actually being in this town and traveling the town. But I guess it's what I expect in a more modern game like this. Although, like, to be fair, personally, I prefer tapping the shoe icon every time, or tapping the orange circle on the map that you can actually travel to. But it is what it is. I think, like, the environments in this game look a little strange to me because the characters are obviously super detailed, but then the environments are kind of the opposite of that sometimes. Like, it looks like the environments are straight out of a 3DS game. Like, obviously they are much more detailed, but I think maybe it's just the texture resolution that makes me think that. But it looks a little, like, the characters look a little bit out of place. Not really. We're probably gonna get used to it the more we play it. Also, I guess another thing that feels a little out of place is that there's actual like English writing in this game. Because normally in Layton games, at least in the environments, the Latin script doesn't exist, and every sign has like nonsense characters that mean nothing. Also, they're reusing names, like, remember Levin Jakes, anyone? Like, this kind of character would never be in an old Layton game. Like, they are way too detailed. But that's a good thing, you know? They have to be able to come up with new character designs. And also, like, if you can have more sophisticated graphics, then might as well use all of the options you have. I don't like that the... Oh, actually, never mind. I was gonna say I don't like that the magnifying glass doesn't turn orange anymore, but I've just noticed that every time you are not looking at an object that you can actually interact with, you don't have a magnifying glass, you have this like pointer finger, which I haven't really noticed yet. I have noticed it, but I had this thought when I saw the magnifying glass, and I was like, why is the magnifying glass not orange? Also, I think this gradient on the question mark icon is really ugly, and it does not fit at all. Like, they had this in LMJ as well, and I thought it looked terrible, so I'm kind of sad that they're still sticking to that, but that's whatever. Also, like, I don't know what you're talking about there, Leighton. Like, we did have airships floating above London in Azran Legacy. Also, I do enjoy that, like, not every puzzle has a hand-drawn drawing to it. Like, this is, like, within engine, like, within the location. You just zoom into a detail, and then it's the puzzle. Like, that's kind of cool. Also, I've watched the video before. It's taking them a very long time to solve this puzzle. Like, this is one of those puzzles where it's like you have to tap on something a million times and then something happens, which isn't really something you would see in a traditional Leighton game. Like, this is something you will see in LMJ, maybe in the 3DS games. Not really. It's not really a logic puzzle. It's more like a fuck around, find out kind of puzzle, but I guess, like, I'm okay with this kind of puzzle as long as there's not too many of them. Like, the important thing is that there's, like, variety between the kinds of puzzles in the game. Okay, you just have to tap the guy a bunch, and then it turns out it's not actually a statue, which, when I first looked at this, is not what I thought this would be, but I guess it kind of makes sense with the nature of the puzzle, where it's like, oh, something strange about the statue, and it doesn't really look like a strange statue, so I guess you just have to tap it a bunch. But I think it's not very intuitive. Like, I think if I were to play this for myself and I didn't know what the solution was, I would be very confused, because I would never think about tapping everything. I would just look at the image for like 10 minutes and I'd be like, okay, I don't see what's wrong with this. Interacting with things in a puzzle like this is not something that I would think about, but I guess that's because I'm so used to the old kind of Leighton puzzles. Like, there's a lot of, like, consistency between the mechanics of a Leighton puzzle that I'm so used to. Like, I expect my Leighton puzzles to behave in a certain way, so I guess it's a good thing that you kind of have to open up to new kinds of puzzles and, like, kind of rework the way you think about Leighton puzzles and the way you approach them. I just hope there's not going to be too many, like, minigame kinds of puzzles, but so far it's definitely looking like the puzzles are going to be a lot better than what's in LMJ and the crossover for that matter, but I just thought there's going to be some hard ones. So yeah, also we're getting 2 mysteries, like, right from the get-go. I thought the inventor of the town was Egg Muffin and not Byron, so I don't know what role Byron is going to play and why he's the hero and why there's this personality cult around him. Like, if anything, I would have expected a personality cult around the guy who invented the town, which also sounds kind of strange. Like, there's definitely going to be something, like, strange going on in this town. Also, like, I think I noticed this when I watched this. I'm not sure if this is actually true. I thought there was no exclamation mark. Oh, there is. Actually, no, never mind. I didn't notice that. It's just like LMJ, where the exclamation mark turns into this really ugly question mark. Like, I feel like that's straight up the same texture from LMJ. They didn't even change that. Like, I don't think it should turn into a question mark, and I think if it does, it should look better. Like, I think the question mark is really ugly. So this puzzle was the only thing they showed in the live presentation this afternoon. It's obviously very reminiscent of the pancake puzzles from Pandora's Box, but those puzzles don't really originate from Pandora's Box. They tell you that it's like a really old type puzzles that existed for centuries. When I watched this live, I was really struggling to figure out how to do this fast, because I didn't realize that you can also touch, like, I thought you could only touch the highest gear, like the one that's on top. As it turns out, you can also tap or like move the second highest one when there's another one on top of it, which makes it a lot easier. Like, you can do that. I didn't think you could do that, but that's what you do. So it's essentially just like the pancake puzzle with like an extra step because you have to move the boat. Like, I guess the boat is the same as the plate in the middle. So I'm not really sure if it would even make a difference mechanically. Like, honestly, I'd have to, like, I can't really picture this in my mind. I'd have to do this puzzle and the one from Pandora's Box, like, one after the other and think about the differences or if they are the same. I can't visualize this because I guess there's no difference between putting it on a plate and putting it on a boat and then also moving the boat. Because actually, the way it works in Pandora's Box, can you move it from, like, straight from the left one to the right one? And do you always have to use the one in the middle? I don't actually remember that, even though I've played the game like a million times. I guess that would be a difference if you can move pancakes from any plate that you want to any plate that you want. I don't know. We're gonna look at the other trailer as well, the other demo. This is what I was talking about earlier. You can change the voice. Oh, you can't change the... No, you can change the voice. I thought, when I looked at this, it looked like there were no arrows for the voice options, but there are. So I don't know why they didn't set it to English. I don't know if the English dub exists yet. I hope it does. I guess what I didn't talk about yet is that the game got released to 2026, which is honestly what everyone was expecting, because there's no way this game was going to come out this year if they haven't shown anything for a year. I suppose like the main reason it's getting delayed is because of the localization, because they are releasing this game in like 8 or 9 different languages, because it's like all of the old languages except Dutch plus Chinese, like traditional and simplified Chinese. So I guess that would be 8 languages, if I'm not insane. No, actually it would be 7 languages, because there's no Dutch. Am I right? German, English, French, Spanish, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, the other Chinese. So I guess it's 8, including Japanese. But yeah, if you have to translate the game and localize it for 7 languages in so many different countries and regions, it's probably going to take a long time. Because the thing is, like, what you need to keep in mind with the old Layton games is that there was always a big discrepancy between when they came out in Japan and when they came out outside of Japan. Because, you know, there was often a difference of almost 2 years. Or in the case of Lost Future and Pandora's Box, it was indeed 2 years. And then Miracle Mask was almost 2 years. Which is because it took them an awful long time to localize them. I'm thinking that they are probably going to release the game in every region at the same time, which would explain the delays and why it's taking so long. Because you would think that with like a point and click game like this, it wouldn't take so long to make them, because all of the other Layton games got made within a year or 2 years. So I'm really hoping it's going to come out everywhere simultaneously. Like, if they say the game's coming out in late 2026 in Japan, and then Europeans are gonna have to wait another year, like, I'm actually gonna jump out of the window. But I don't think that's gonna happen, especially because the game already exists in English. At least the text has been translated into English. And also they've said 2025 in the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation earlier this year. So I'm thinking it's gonna come out everywhere simultaneously, and I think that's the reason why it's taking so long. And I guess, I don't know, there's probably something that's still being worked on. They said the puzzles were done like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago even. So I don't really know what's taking them so long, but obviously they have greatly improved the visuals. Like, the main thing that I've noticed is that, like, Steam Bison is so much more colorful now, because in the original trailer, the game was just gray and beige, and that was like my main takeaway after the reveal in February 2023 in the first trailer at TGS 2023, was that there's like no color in the game. Like, why is it so gray and beige, and like, why are the backgrounds like non-existent? So it's really good to see that there's so much color in the game now. It seems a lot more, like, a lot livelier now, which is really good. I'm very happy about that. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because we've seen this already. This character, okay, I forgot about this character. I feel like this character looks so out of place. I think that's only the eyes. The eyes are so uncanny. Like, I cannot think of another Layton character that has eyes like that. Like, maybe in the DS games, but they don't look that glossy, you know what I mean? I think, like, in some cases, like, I actually, like, in the original reveal trailer, it looked a little bit too glossy, and they reworked that a lot, and I really like the way the game looks now. Because originally, I was actually very skeptical about the game's art style, but now I think it looks really good. Like, they've done so many changes about it. Also, I don't know what Luke is waiting for. Like, they're obviously being chased. I don't know who these guys are. There's gonna be some kind of explanation, but we'll just have to wait and see. Also, like, when I watched the trailer this morning, I was like, why is there rap music in the trailer? Like, who thought that was a good idea? Who thought that would fit Layton? And then I was like, okay, I mean, Level 5's advertising is really strange, especially the one for the Japanese market. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to get used to some really strange trailers for the game and like really strange publicity. I was almost convinced that the song was only in the trailer. It's in this cutscene. It's exactly like the trailer suggested. The rap song plays during this cutscene in the game. I don't know why. Also, like, I don't know which American city would have public transportation like this. I guess some East Coast cities did, but like, why is there rap music in Layton? Like, it feels so silly. Maybe they're trying to like Americanize it a lot more. They're like, oh, what do American people like? What comes out of America? Hip hop, right? Let's make a rap song for the Layton game. I don't know. Like like this game looked like it's set in like 1880. So it's like, why is that in the game? I don't know. I don't understand it, man. I don't know. The music is great though. Like, and there's an upload of the soundtrack of the demo version from 2024 that I've been listening to for like almost every single day since it came out. And the music in this game is so good, right? Like, the soundtrack to LMJ was so rough. like, it was so forgettable and bland, right? And I think that's also because the game was just really bland, and the environments were as basic as they could be, and the stories were kind of nothing, which also meant that I think Nishiura probably really struggled to compose music for that game, because, like, where do you even start? But now that we're getting some more, like, foreign locations, but also locations that feel a lot more Layton-esque, because they are kind of strange. Like, he is back to his true form, where he can actually cook some, like, great music. There's been a lot of arrangements, which I'm kind of torn about, because, like, it's awesome. Like, the old Layton tunes are great, and I really love listening to these new arrangements. I think they shouldn't exclusively rely on old music. Like, every single Layton game mostly has original music, because, you know, every single Layton game includes Professor Layton's theme, but it only ever plays once in the entire game, and that is at the very end when he's, like, being a gamer, you know, and there's, like, a cutscene where he solves the mystery or something, or, like, he makes a grandiose reveal, and that's how you know, like, shit's about to get real, when Layton's theme kicks in. But now they're reusing a bunch of old music. Like, the puzzle theme in this game is absolutely phenomenal, but it's like a mix of Spectre's Call's puzzle theme, and then something original, and then the puzzle theme from Curious Village, and it's so good. But it's like, I'm hoping the game mostly has original music, and so far it definitely sounds like that. I need to listen to the music from this game outside, like from this demo outside of the demo footage. But, like, my impression from watching this demo footage is that it's very fitting. It's very much, like, in the spirit of the 3DS Layton games. Like, we're never gonna go back to the accordion music. Like, the old, like, especially the first two games had this, like, very distinct type of music that we're never gonna listen to again. But it's okay. The times have changed. It's very good that we're kind of moving on from those games, because, like, as much as I love those games, they have to make something new for the series to be able to survive. And I'm really hoping there's going to be another game after this. Like, there's a chance this game is going to be awful, you know? But I feel like their plan is to make more. I don't know if their plan is to make a trilogy, because that's what they've done in the past. But then, like, when you finish a trilogy, what would you do after that? Because I feel like this game is probably not gonna lead up to, like, a lot of continuity the way the second trilogy did, because, like, the games in the second trilogy are a lot more connected than the games in the first trilogy. Like, the first trilogy is a lot more episodic, and then the third game adds some, like, context, but it's not really necessary at all. So I guess this is probably going to be closer to the first trilogy, in that the games are going to be a lot more episodic, which is a good thing, especially if you want to sell a lot of them. I don't really think we're going to see any recurring characters, really. I think we might see Granny Riddleton, maybe, but she also decided to retire after Lost Future, so maybe we'll see Puzzlette, I don't know. I think there's a pretty good chance we might see Pavel, because he's traveling around the world. I still hope there's a chance that Emmy shows up. I think it's very unlikely that Emmy shows up, because I think there's not going to be a single reference to any of the existing Layton games. Like, obviously they're going to reference, like, them having had adventures together in the past, but I think that's going to be it, because obviously there's no real way of playing the old games right now, or at least of purchasing them right now. You can get the first trilogy on mobile, but they're not really selling those games, so and, like, obviously most people that are going to buy this game will not have played those games, or at least they're going to try to appeal to people who have not played those games, so they don't want to confuse anyone, they don't want anyone to have any knowledge of these games, and these games need to be enjoyable without any prior knowledge. So if anything, I think if there are any references to existing games, it's going to be like LMJ, where there's, like, a costume that's like, oh, this looks like Emmy's outfit, this looks like Flora's outfit, but they're not really going to talk about anything. Or if they bring back the collectibles from the prequel trilogy, which I really hope, because I love that part of those games, they might include some objects from old games, because they also did that in LMJ, where it's like a figurine of Lucia, or it looks like Lucia. They don't even say it's Lucia, but you know what it is if you've played Spectre's Call. So I think that's what they're gonna do. There's a chance Emmy might be in the game, because she's been traveling the world as a reporter after the events of Azran Legacy, but if you bring back Emmy, you're gonna have to explain who Emmy is, and they're not gonna do that. We might see Clark and Brenda, maybe Doland and Beth, because I feel like there's a decent chance we might see Luke's family, because it would only make sense, but I have a feeling it's going to be just Layton and Luke, and then everything else is going to be new. Like, in the prequel trilogy, they replaced all of the existing characters with new characters. You know, Inspector Chalmey got replaced by Inspector Grosky, and then Stash and Scarfin became Aldous, and Granny Riddleton became Keats, and then Elizabeth, which is the same character as Granny Riddleton. But it's just going to be Layton and Luke. It's going to be the boys. I guess it's going to feel much more similar to Curious Village and Pandora's Box, because I kind of feel like we're going back to the basics. Just Layton and Luke going to a strange town, having a grand old time, solving a mystery. There's not really going to be any like character drama. There's not going to be any character drama related to Layton or Luke. It's going to be like Curious Village and Pandora's Box, where Layton and Luke are mainly observers to the mystery. Like, I'm hoping there's going to be character drama, because that's the way every single Layton plot works. But usually, at least in the first two games, Layton and Luke are mainly observers, and then it's about someone else's trauma, and that character is exclusive, or like those characters are exclusive to the game. So I feel like that's what's going to happen. I really hope they're not going to add another backstory or anything like that, because that would really destroy the character. Like, that's the main issue with bringing back the existing characters, is that you can't really tell any new stories about their past lives. You know, we've explored Layton's childhood, his like adolescence, his time as a university student. You can't really tell any new stories about Layton. So what we're gonna do is just yet another mystery where we solve the secret behind like a town, a strange town. It's probably gonna be fake, which would be very much in line with the original trilogy. We love a fake town. You can't have a Layton game without an artificial town. So it's gonna feel very Layton-esque. It's gonna feel very at home. It's also gonna feel very different. I'm very excited for it. You know, I've been waiting for this game since Azure Legacy came out. Technically, I've been waiting for this game since Lost Future came out, because when I finished that game, I was sure that that's what the next game was going to be. And when I got Spectre's Call for Christmas in 2011, I was like, oh, okay, this is just the Lost Future sequel, right? And then I was so confused because Layton and Luke didn't really seem to know each other. Or Layton says, oh, last time I saw Luke was when he was a baby. And then it took me a very long time to realize that it was a prequel, because I didn't read the text on the back of the box, which I should have. But when you get a new Layton game, you want to play it immediately, right? Like, you don't have the time to read what's on the back of the box. That's just my 2 cents. Also, this artwork is really cute. Like, I was not a fan of Luke's redesign, because like, if the game takes place just 1 year after Lost Future, I think Luke probably aged a little bit too much. Like, he looks so much older in this game than he did in Lost Future. And this artwork, he looks a lot closer to his self in Lost Future. I think when you're like 12 or 13, you're gonna change a lot within a year, so it makes sense. I think if he looks like this in the game, that'd be great. They definitely reworked the model. He looks a lot better now, I think, than he did in the original reveal. You might be able to hear my cat meowing, but that's my 2 cents about the game. We haven't really seen Coinda in this demo, that's okay. I'm hoping there's gonna be difficult puzzles, because the thing with Layton is there's always this perfect balance between puzzles that are not too hard and not too easy. Everything we've seen so far was like on the easier side, but it's gonna be a great game. I really hope it's gonna be good. I really hope it's gonna be good. I guess another thing is that Layton's Mystery Journey was the only game that was localized by level 5, and you could really tell, and it was very bad, and like, all of the localizations done by Nintendo of Europe were incredible, but this game is probably gonna get localized by level 5, so I'm really hoping they're gonna do a good job. I'm really hoping they're bringing back Christopher Robin Miller. Also, I'm hoping they're gonna bring back Layton's German voice, because honestly, Layton's German voice is so good. Like, I might actually prefer it over Christopher Robin Miller. I really hope they're bringing back the same voice actor. I don't know his name, sadly, but I really hope they're gonna bring back the voice. Luke should sound a little bit older. I've talked about this before. I'm hoping it's gonna come out in like spring, because when they say 2026, it's probably gonna mean December or November, which I don't know. Don't announce your games early. You know, I can wait for a game. I've been waiting for this game since 2013, you know? And for like a decade, we thought Layton was dead, and we thought there was never going to be a new game. And you know, I had to get my hopes up for Layton 7 for mobile, which never came out, thankfully, because it would have been nothing like a Layton game. But that was all we had for like multiple years. We knew, oh, there was going to be a phone game about like 7 characters that had nothing to do with Layton, but it was called Layton 7. That was the new Layton game. We're finally getting a new Layton game. I'm so happy. I hope it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Like, it looks so good. The game looks good. It looks good. I'm not coping. I actually mean this when I say this. It looks like a good game. It looks like they translated it to the Switch 2 as well as they could have. The DS and 3DS are still optimal. You can't get better. Like 3DS is the most optimal gaming system ever made. Like you cannot improve on the 3DS. Considering they have to deal with the inferior hardware of the Switch and Switch 2, they did a good job, you know? It looks good. There's no cutscenes. Honestly, regarding the 2D cutscenes, they were never gonna bring back PA Works, because you know the cutscenes in the crossover were made by Bone, and they look kind of different. They look a lot more like mature, which I guess is because of the game's art style, because they had to kind of like accommodate the Ace Attorney style. And then the cutscenes in Layton's Mystery Journey are so off. Like they look so bad. Like the animation quality is great, but when you look at Layton himself, like he's so cutesy and round. Like that's not what he's supposed to look like. Like, I just hate his design from LMJ. Like, if he looked like imagine there were 2D cutscenes in this game, and he looked the way he did in LMJ, like, I would have refunded the game. No, I wouldn't have, but honestly, it's okay that there are no hand-drawn cutscenes. We're still getting the hand-drawn artwork and the puzzles, and I guess the mysteries might also have hand-drawn artworks. It's gonna be great. They're not using AI for this game. Level 5 are using AI, by the way, for some of their games, like Deca Police. But I guess Deca Police is never coming out, so it's okay. Buy this game. Please play the game. Buy it like on Switch and Switch 2 to make sure it's gonna sell well, to make sure they're gonna do another one. And I guess there's a good chance they're not gonna kill the franchise if it takes them like 5 years to make a game. Like if they rush out a new game every year, the quality is definitely gonna deteriorate. So it's a good thing they're taking that time. This game could have probably already been released, but Level 5 don't know how to make games anymore. It's taking them way longer than expected. This video was supposed to end like 10 minutes ago. Have a good night. See you next year when we're getting news at TGS 2026. And I'll just hope it'll be good.